So yeah. I was talking about the weird thing which is happening right now. So do you know about this GME thing, GameStop? So this is what happened in 2020.
So I remember when I I remember something about GameStop.
GameStop, right?
Yeah.
So this is what exactly is happening. Can you keep it? Right. Yeah, yeah. So this is what exactly happening right now. So something weird happened with GameStop 3 years back. So
Right.
there's this guy called Roaring Kitty, and he came on like live stream and he did some analysis, which I think was not a good analysis because GameStop was a really bad company. It was a penny stock. So he did something. People came up on Reddit, and something happened on social media, and he earned like $43 million out of that. So that was the thing which happened that time.
He got that much money, but how much did the big guys lose?
Yeah, that was
Because they were betting against GameStop, right?
Yeah. That is basically a short squeeze from their side. So there was a huge short squeeze, and lot of big hedge funds went down and like incurred a lot of losses. And I think this was the first time when the retailers made money, but the big guy didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was something which happened. So
Latest news.
latest news is Roaring Kitty. He was off social media. He was like completely like he wasn't on social media. People didn't know like where he was. He recently came on Twitter and he tweeted GameStop. So he didn't do so he tweeted this meme. So where this guy is sitting like this, and in another image, the guy is sitting like this, handling a remote. So like basically this signifies like the GameStop is coming back. So this was the meme. So this was the meme. Something really like I think GameStop rose on like 40-50% that day. It again came down. But yesterday, he scheduled a live streaming for like today. And what GameStop did was GameStop released their earnings way before the time. They released the earning last night, and it was in like heavy losses. So when the market opened this morning, it was like 30% down.
So was GameStop planning to release their?
Not yesterday.
They did it because of him.
I'm not sure because of him. I am suspecting some kind of weird thing is happening in the market. Maybe big guys or someone who has like a short position on GameStop, maybe influenced GameStop to release the results early, so that in the morning when the results are out and the results are really bad, people will get panic and like sell their positions because a lot of retailers went into the position yesterday. So I think this was a thing which they might have like planned, but I think that didn't happen. And
Interesting.
do you know that last time when this whole thing happened, Robinhood disabled the button
I remember that. Yeah.
buy,
Yeah.
and people only had the button to sell it.
Should they influence? Should they have that influence over buying and selling?
Yeah, because I think Citadel was involved in this.
Mm.
Or what is his name? So Citadel basically asked Robinhood to do this so that because Citadel was short on GameStop, and because people now have only only the option to sell, so a lot of people are going to sell it, and there'll be a panic in the market, and the share price is going to fall. So this is what they were planning like back then. But I think and I think SEC also summoned Robinhood and Citadel during this whole case. So this was the weird thing which happened. I want to discuss with you. Let's see how it goes after the podcast. After the recording, I'll see what is exactly happening.
Nice.
So yeah, I wanted to talk to you first. Like, can we start like introducing yourself? I know that you've been working at Rutgers and in like admissions for like more than 7 years, but I might be missing something in your like timeline. But so you can just tell me what your name and like what exactly you do at Rutgers.
Sure. So my name is Thomas Hill. I'm the Assistant Dean of Graduate Recruitment and Admissions. I have been in this position since September. Before that, I was working with the Master of Quantitative Finance program. I was with that program since I first started at Rutgers in 2017. They hired me as the program coordinator for that position. And after several years of being in that position, and I think from doing a good job in that position, they elevated my title, and I became senior program coordinator. But I also was called the manager of the program since I oversaw so much of the program.
So quantitative finance is like one of the biggest program in Rutgers right now. And
It is.
you were the coordinator of it. So you might be like, you might have met a lot of people, a lot of students, like you have seen a lot of applications in there,
Yes.
you know. So like this is all like what I want to discuss. Like, but before that, what were you doing? Like, what was your experience before coming to this whole thing?
Before coming to Rutgers or before coming into admissions?
Before coming into admissions, I would say, like, because I think being a coordinator also, you handle some sort of you had some influence in admission. You knew who was coming, you knew the kind of profile you were selecting, right? So that is like, I'll count that in like admission. But like before that, what were you doing? Also, this is something interesting. So I was checking your LinkedIn yesterday,
Okay.
like to know what exactly you have done, and I came across this thing. You are, or you were, adjunct professor at Essex County, and you were teaching world civilizations and everything.
Yes.
We haven't talked about this. Like, I didn't know you taught all these things to students.
Yeah, so a few years ago in 2016, I applied there. I was looking for a little something else to do. And that county college is just down the street from me. So I taught there for 3 semesters. I taught world civilizations. I have an undergrad degree in history. My master's is in international relations and diplomacy. So they thought I was a good fit. And I taught there 3 semesters. Love teaching world civilizations because, of course, I love history, and my second passion is traveling. So when I'm teaching these students about world civilizations, I'm talking about places I've been. So that I think I brought some passion to my teaching because I've traveled so much and have such a love for history.
Because I think we never discussed about this thing, and I was really thinking, like, I was really hoping of like we would have touched the topic, but I think this podcast will keep just for the admissions.
Sure.
So yeah, and also I checked your website, and it was written. I'm not sure if what exactly was it. So it was written like you were doing, or you did Masters of Arts and History at Rutgers.
Yeah, I completed a history master's 1 year ago.
Really?
So I started it during COVID.
Yeah.
I was bored. I had time on my hands, and I love history. So, and if you're an employee at Rutgers, they'll pay for your degree.
I know a lot of people who are employed and studying like PhD or doing a master's. So I think that's a good opportunity for you people to, get a good, like good education, like when you want to pursue something else. So yeah, I think this is good. So like, did you studied at this campus or like another
This campus.
this campus?
Yeah.
So you might be knowing a lot of professors there here, right?
So I got to meet a few professors. The classes started off online because it was during COVID, so I didn't get to build a relationship with some of the professors. But once classes were in person, I got to meet some of the great professors they have in the history program.
So was there like any specialization, or like you were reading overall like any history, like it was particularly American history, or like
So they give you a choice to either study American or European. I've really focused on American because my undergrad degree in history was on Spain in the American Southwest. I continued that through my master's final paper, where I wrote on like a 30-page paper. I wrote on a specific town in New Mexico about how people from the outside view that specific town. And I looked at hundreds of newspaper articles to get an insight how people outside of the state viewed the people in that small town. And it was a personal project because my family lived in that small town, and I wanted to see what people from the outside had to say. And there were some good things, but there's a lot of negative opinions about the people in the small town. The people traveling through the area were educated people in the East going to California, going to visit New Mexico, and they viewed my ancestors who were Hispanic people very negatively because they looked different, they talked different, they ate different foods.
how do they look exactly?
And a lot of times, and for the most part, they had dark skin. They dressed they were poor people, so they dressed very different from the people coming from the East, and they viewed them through the lens of how they view people in present day Mexico, even though they were living in the United States. There's a lot of they're putting their ideas of what people in Mexico, how they live their lives.
Yeah.
It's very similar, but they were I think confusing the two, because these people were U.S. citizens, and they just had a very interesting opinion. And
I think the reason is like US particularly has like so diverse cultures. So it's difficult to, point out a single culture which US belongs to. US belongs to basically a complete diversity of any culture. So when it comes to Hispanic, people give a lot of importance to Hispanic in this country. And I think that's why it's confusing to a lot of people, like how exactly US is. But I think US is more about like diversity, and people do have like their own cultures, and they do celebrate like that. And also, like when you are talking about this small town thing, so you also come from a southern city called
Amarillo, Texas, yes.
So is it like a small town or like a big city?
So it's a town of 200,000.
Oh,
So it's a good sized town,
yeah,
but it's a remote town.
yeah.
So it's not like Newark, New Jersey, where you have Jersey City on the border, you have East Orange on the border. This town is out in the middle of nowhere, no other big cities near it. The closest big city is an hour and a half south, and it too is about 200,000 people.
Right. So you would consider this as because like what is the people, how people are like financially, they're like, are they rich, middle class, or like poor? What's the category divided in?
So there is a large, I think, middle class population. The biggest hires in the city is the hospital system, because it's a hospital that's serving the entire region, because it is the big city in the region. A lot of people are employed by. There's a helicopter facility where they're building helicopters for the military, and there's a nuclear plant there where they're disassembling nuclear weapons.
Really?
So this is where the higher paying jobs are, and this is where a lot of people who are educated come from and work there. But that aside, there's not since it's so remote, and there's not a big push on education. A lot of people I went to high school with didn't pursue a higher education. I think I'm probably one of maybe 10-20% who went on to college
and pursued like, and even you did recently did a higher education, so masters. So
yeah.
so why is it like quite rare in US that people don't pursue masters and they just do bachelors? And I think I was talking to someone, and they're like, because being an Indian also, you are pursuing a master's, you're already like way above than an average American, because they don't go for a master's. And if you have a master's degree, I was talking to a professor, I think, here, getting a master's degree is like way better than like getting any sort of, so I think you are way above the average American if you're getting a master's. So like, why do people don't go for a master's degree and they just stay with the undergrad?
I think it's. I think part of it's regional. I think many people can do okay with just a with just a bachelor's degree,
Right.
and then some regions and there's more competition. Bigger regions, there's a lot more educated people, and you need a master's degree to get above other people, to show more skills than everybody else.
Right. I was looking at this stats. I think a lot of Americans in here like make around like 50K, 60K on a year. And if they're working, if they're living with a partner, it's like the household income becomes like 120, 130. And I think that's enough to be in like even in any major city in like US, right?
Yeah, but it's getting harder, and people are coming to the realization that you might not need a master's degree to make the amount of money that you need to live.
Right.
And I think in developing countries, getting a degree, there's a lot of prestige to that.
Yeah.
I think that was so in the United States, but I think that's not as prestigious because they're seeing so many people who are getting degrees and who aren't getting paid enough. and then they're realizing that their degrees, the return on investment was not as great as they had hoped.
Right.
And I think a lot of that is they're not choosing the right degree to pursue, and they're not choosing the right university to get that return on investment.
Right. I think, yeah, we'll just come to that, and we'll just talk about like why is it important to choose the right university and right course. So yeah, before coming to that, like I just want to know, like as an admissions team member, what exactly your job is, like what exactly you do when like some application arrives, and like so what exactly your day-to-day job as an admissions team member.
Sure. So part of the job is attracting students to apply, getting the admissions funnel even larger, so we can work the admissions funnel to get students who are good who are a good fit for the business school. So expanding the funnel, that's one part of the job, and another part is moving them through the funnel.
The best out of them.
Right. Make sure that we're answering any questions they have. One thing I like to do is make them feel like, give them the personal touch. Let them know that I'm there to answer any questions. Just email me if they need any help along the way, because I don't want a student starting an application and not knowing where to go if they are missing something, or if it's not clear. I want them to know that I'm there to answer any questions they have. And then, following up with students, making sure that all of their materials are in. And once we do that, once a student has submitted, then we are checking their applications. We do a review, make sure everything's in, make sure. So I like to do a quick check of their GRE, GMAT, their TOEFL scores if they're international, and I like to look at their transcripts, see what kind of students are attracted to the business school.
Right.
But the people who are making the decisions are the program directors. So we review everything and then move them to the program directors to make the final decision.
So you're basically, if we consider a funnel which has like, for example, 1,000 applicants, so you are basically a part of the funnel which is helping the flow of the funnel to go till the end, by like reducing the number of applicants, by choosing right kind of applicants from among the 1,000 applicants per se. So I think so you are doing that job, and like the final decision is on the program director, right?
Right, correct. And you would think that's the end of the funnel, but going down the funnel is, I would say there's a component of once a student is admitted, that doesn't mean everything's great. Once they're admitted, we have to make sure a student has deposited, make sure the students have any other questions they have, to make sure those questions are answered. And one thing I'm passionate about is keeping the student engaged after they apply, so they feel like, I'm not just a number. Rutgers really wants me. They're keeping me involved in what's going on.
Making him part of the community.
Exactly. We want them to be part of the community prior to showing up.
Right. Because I think it's necessary, because whenever you get into a college, it's a big thing for a lot of people to get into any college. Because I remember my time. So I was sitting at my desk, like, and I think it was 11 p.m. at night, because the time zone works differently. So I was sitting on my desk, and it was around 9 or 10 or something in US, and I just received a mail from Rutgers that
Check your portal.
second portal, and I just said, and it was written congratulations. So I just sat there for like, and I was just being grateful. I was so happy about that, because I was struggling. I was not struggling. I wanted to come into US like since I was like 18 or 19. I wanted to come for my undergrad, but yeah, because in India we have a lot of money constraints, and undergrad do not provide a lot of scholarships and like financial aid, and it's like 4 years. To get a certain kind of job, you have to study for 4 years, but in masters, you just have to study for like 15 months or like 24 months, and you get a better job than any undergrad. But there's all pros and cons of a master's and of an undergrad degree. So I don't regret anything, but I was like really happy when I saw like, congratulations, Dean Lay. I saw the video of Dean Lay coming out, like, congratulations. So that felt like, you have done something now.
So one thing that I like to do is, as soon as the program director admits students, if it could be 11 o'clock at night, it could be on the weekends. I want to get that processed so the students are getting that email, because I know that can make somebody's day. And maybe most of the time, I doubt they would expect it on a weekend, because everybody in the U.S. rarely works weekends. But I like to process them on the weekends if they're there, because I want to make somebody's weekend. Give them a reason to have a good weekend.
So I just wanted to know, like, what kind of number of applications you get. Like, if we talk about particularly MQF, Rutgers is like one of the biggest universities in US, and MQF is one of the biggest course in Rutgers. And I think we have the highest number of students like for this master's program.
We are probably number 2. The Information Technology and Analytics program has the largest cohort of students. And we have some online programs that have more, but for students admitting international students, I think MQF is number 2 for number of students.
And when it comes to stats wise, like which course is performing really good, I think it's number 1 is MQF.
I like to say it's the best program.
Yeah. I think in Rutgers, I think MQF is the number 1 program, because I talk to a lot of people, mostly like undergrads. They're afraid of quants. Like whenever I say I'm doing quantitative finance, they're like, "Oh, you are a smart guy." Like, yeah, you don't have to say that. But yeah, so I think we are like one of the best programs. So like, how many number of applications you usually get? Let's talk about like fall, because we have 2 intakes, fall and spring. So you can tell me like a number of applications you get in like for a fall semester.
We're getting, it varies year to year, of course. So we're getting 300 to 400 applications for students applying in the fall for the quantitative finance program.
Right. And you select like what, 50, 60 from all these applications?
We're selecting more than that, but we usually end up with a number of 55 to 60. There are, of course, students who decide to not come. They are admitted, they do not come. Yeah. They go to a different university. They find out that, they couldn't get their money together to come. There's reasons why students don't come, but we usually end up with a cohort of 55, 60 students.
And like, this is one of the questions which I had like in my mind. So when I was applying for my course, I always used to treat the admission team as something else. Like there's some like, something like, I don't not better than us. Like they are, we have some different notion about these admissions member. Like we don't treat them as human. Like we don't think that we think they're like robots, and they have some fixed criteria in their mind to select anyone. And it's like, so I just want you to like, burst this notion and just give a clarity that like you are also like a human, like us. And even if you like make a good relationship with you and like talk to you, we could get help in the admissions. You are like not some kind of robot or something.
Yeah. So admissions team, they're like anybody else. They don't mind answering questions. That's what their job is for. If you want insight on, what the expectations are, the admissions team will probably direct you to a monthly webinar, or they'll give you that information. We're really looking for students with this type of GMAT, GRE, but the information is online. Yeah. So I will say that, but it doesn't hurt to talk to a human.
Yeah, and like you are like human, you're like not a robot or something. If someone is telling you their problem, you'll understand. It's not like you just close your eyes and don't listen to problems and just follow the set of rules. You're like a human, and you will listen to problems which they have, even if it's like some personal problem which they are facing, and they can, I think, reach out to you whenever they have some kind of problem.
Definitely, yeah. If they're concerned that they don't have the right background to get into a program, the right grades, I encourage them to have a conversation with me. Let's talk about it. Let's see if there is a way around to or if there's a way to strengthen some part of their application to overcome a lower score here.
Yeah. Okay, so this is one of the things which I want to know, that when it comes to like master's application, if someone is applying from any international location like India, China, or maybe some other location, do you prefer a domestic student over international, or it's like based on your application? Like I want like your honest answer on that, so that people can have this in their mind, and they can just work on their application on that basis. Like if you prefer domestic student, I think people would start working on their application and become better than like domestic guy. And if there is no such thing, then they can just
So when it comes to admitting domestic students or international students, we look at the same exact criteria. So when it comes to time to find a job in the U.S., domestic students have the edge, and we know that. I don't know if they know that. International students, probably know that.
International knows, domestic don't.
They don't know. It doesn't cross their mind.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you have something, you don't realize the importance of it. So this is what they have. Yeah. So it's like you treat both of these people like in the same way.
Yeah. Okay. So we're looking to see that they have the same, baseline of knowledge, regardless of where they're from. We're giving the same opportunity to both domestic and international students, and especially in the specialty master's programs where we have so many international students.
Right. And this might be like too easy or a common question, but I would still ask because we don't know if our viewer is listening for the first time, he or she knowing about the admissions thing for the first time. So this is my question. So in India, whenever we apply for a college, even if it's undergrad or master's, we don't have like a lot of master's courses, but mostly undergrad. So whenever they are applying for any courses, it's mostly like, a merit based thing. Like they go for a test. If they scored very good in that, like above the cutoff marks, they get a certain kind of course. And we don't have like any statement of purpose, letter of recommendation, anything else. It's just on a merit base. People give exam and entrance exams and everything, and there's a huge competition around that. So I just wanted to tell like how US admissions work like differently from India.
Yeah, so if they really make a difference if a student is in the middle. If their grades aren't the best, if they're not entirely perfect for their background's not perfect for the program, that's when we start focusing more on the statement of purpose to see if there's passion there. I think passion will help in the long run. Student get a job. So, these things that people feel like they're a barrier to completing their application, like the statement of purpose, getting a great resume written, they can help push a student over the line.
Over the line, yeah. Okay, got it. And so when it comes to like admissions in US, so what US college wants from a student, like what exactly they're expecting? Like for example, if I'm applying to a quantitative finance degree or maybe information technology or a computer science degree, so what exactly kind of thing specific to degree a college wants?
They want to know that you have the quant skills to succeed in the program and once you are in the job market. And another thing we look at are soft skills, and we can kind of gauge soft skills through resume, statement of purpose, what a student has done outside of school. That will help us see that a student, will be successful once they graduate.
Right. Okay. And like if it comes to like, for example, if I've done finance degree or maybe an accounting degree, and I want to get into quantitative finance, which is not that related to like any particular, because even if we say it's quantitative finance, it's not that finance, it's more like math side of it, programming and everything. We do have finance, but the kind of finance we are taught in like undergrad, it's not what we are taught in here. So if I have like an accounting course, how is it possible for me to come to this course or like any course which is not relevant to my previous background?
So you're going to have to get some of that quant knowledge somewhere else. And many students go back and take classes that are prerequisites are required. But most international students by default have the prerequisites needed, especially for quantitative finance. And if they don't, they can go back and take classes to get those classes under their belt. Because that's really what shows if us that the students are going to succeed is if they have the prerequisites.
Okay. So have you faced any problem like this, that a person has done a 3 years of education? Because in India we have few undergrad degrees where we have 3 years of education, and a lot of colleges. So this was the reason I wasn't able to apply to a lot of colleges in US. I wasn't able to apply to Georgia Tech. I wasn't able to apply to NYU Tandon and like few other colleges because I had a 3 years of degree, and they wanted me to do a 1 year diploma to have that prerequisite and go for it. So has anyone asked you this problem and how you go with it? How basically Rutgers treat this as a problem?
So when it comes to a 3-year degree, we do accept them if the student comes from a university with an AAC grade A or higher, and if they graduate first class.
Okay.
That's really the criteria for students with a 3-year degree.
All right.
And we're of course looking at the classes they're taking. We're looking at the entire application. So if a student has a 3-year degree, that's when the resume, statement of purpose, and for some programs, recommendation letters become more important.
Right, got it. Because I think I did the same thing for my application also, because I come from a commerce background, which is more like accounting and finance, and like it's quite rare for any BCom guy to come to a quant degree. I haven't seen a lot of them, because in my class also I think we are only 1, 2, 3, maybe, I'm not sure. So we are very less. So people usually don't come from BCom background to quant finance because they don't have any programming background. They don't have math in their courses. And this is what I did. I did online courses and highlighted those in my SOP. And this is how I got. I think so. Basically, you do look for these things in an application when people are not able to satisfy the requirements which they have.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So as you said, like if someone has like not a good background and like relevant experience when it comes to applying to like a particular course, and like at what disadvantages he's at, like is there any disadvantages, like for example if someone is from um a different work experience, he has worked in like for example as a software engineer and he want to get into quants. So is he at disadvantage? Like is a different work experience is a disadvantage or a different degree?
So we do have career changers come into the program. Of course, we're looking at if they have the math prerequisites, and if they do, that's really that's what we're looking at. We don't mind career changers. We do tell them that during the career management process that they're going to have to refocus their resume away from, for example, the software engineering jobs, and start focusing on, making the resume for getting it ready for a quant job. Right. Software engineering, that's not what you're looking for anymore. Let's tailor it to what you are looking for, and that's a quant job.
Right. And so it's basically, it's not a disadvantage if you show that you have an intent to perform really well in the program.
It's not a disadvantage.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think a lot of people has this doubt. Like, for example, if I'm applying to any course and I have a different background, so if I apply, they'll just completely scrap off my application.
So we've had a few years ago, we had a student who had an art background. We've had students we had a student recently applying who had a history background, but they've taken the math courses to get it to that we're looking for to get into the program. They've, in addition to that, they've done they had internships that are relevant to quantitative finance. So if you've got a crazy background but you've got the math, we'll take you serious.
Right. So it's not like you are giving equal opportunities to everyone. It's not like you are just discarding people and people think that, like if I come from a different background, they'll just don't let me in. Like, it's not like that. You are giving equal opportunities to everyone. It's about you, how you represent yourself, because you are just looking for a person who can just perform well in this course, because it's for your own benefit. It's not for because you'll be coming to the college, you'll be paying to the college. So we'll be getting our fees, we'll be getting our, revenue out of you. It's like, it's for you. You'll be performing well in the college or not. That's why we are just making sure that you can perform.
And if we weren't looking for that, we'd have students coming, paying their first semester, and then not succeeding in the program. And that's bad optics. that'll trickle down and get out that, we're just accepting students with no math background to get into the quant finance program, taking their money and then pushing them out. That's not good business.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure students can succeed, and like we've talked about, it's important to get that information. If it's not on your transcript, get it on your resume, get it in your statement of purpose, but don't oversell yourself, because there is always that possibility of struggling in the program and not succeeding. So and then one thing that helps us is that GRE and GMAT score. That helps us gauge if you have the math skills.
Okay, like I have like particular questions about GRE, so we'll come to that like later. The first thing, so when we talk about like applications, we have few things. We have letter of recommendations, we have the scores, the GPA, GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, and your SOP, obviously. So if we talk about letter of recommendation, so is it like, does like LOR from an assistant professor, not from a head of the department or someone like from a head professor? If a LOR is coming from someone who is an assistant and who is an head, is there any difference between how do you treat those LORs and how do you look at the LORs when it comes to you?
So I can't answer for all the program directors, but to me the biggest hurdle is getting a professor who will actually send the letter of recommendation. That's the biggest hurdle. If you can't get the head of the department to send a letter of recommendation, get somebody. We have so many applications that get tied up that go nowhere because they can't get somebody to write a letter of recommendation. For some programs it is required, right. And we won't move past. We won't move through the application process without that letter of recommendation.
Yeah, and I think like most of the application portal are like automated in such a way that if all the checklist is not fulfilled, your application is not exactly submitted there, and
it won't move forward. And behind the scenes, we are reaching out after a certain amount of time to your recommender to kind of nudge them, saying you've already received an email. Here's another email reminder. But and if a student sees that their application, if they're not getting the letter of recommendations on time, if their application is just sitting there, they need to be proactive too. Right. Contact us. It will tell you that we've tried to contact your recommender as well. Maybe you should choose another recommender, or maybe you should reach out to this professor again. You should have reached out to him beforehand, but you might want to reach out to this professor again, saying they're trying to reach out to you. Keep an eye on your.
I think I did this mistake in my application, that I wasn't aware of this thing, and I didn't know that my professor will take a lot of time to send me a letter of recommendation. And when I asked him, I think he took like a month, and I was already late in like most of my applications. So I think I have faced this thing. So okay, again, so like when it comes to letter of recommendation, does it matter like what is the position of a professor, or is it like the more personalized the letter of recommendation is, it's more better?
In my opinion, it's a lot better. So you could have the president of the university send in a two sentence recommendation. That's not going to hold as much weight as an assistant professor who writes a glowing 2-paragraph, 3-paragraph letter of recommendation.
Right. So it's not like, so when you are reading a letter of recommendation, it's like we are just reading the stuff which he has written. We don't even care who has written this. Like if that's a good stuff and the person who has written is a credible person, he's a legit person, this is all that matter, because the way people write it, like the more personalized it, the more it tells about your skill set. I think it's more.
That holds a lot of weight.
Okay, got it. No, this actually makes sense. So yeah, I think if someone has sorted their letter of recommendation, the another thing which they mostly are worried about are the GRE scores. And I think this has changed a lot after the COVID, because after 2020, a lot of universities think that GRE is not that important, so they have given this an optional thing. So I want you to tell me that how important is GRE, and when it's written on any website, on any on any admission application, that GRE is optional. And would you recommend submitting a GRE? And will it work if you don't submit a GRE? So like, what's your opinion on that?
So if a GRE is not required, there's really no point in sending it. So our programs still require GRE or GMAT scores for our analytics programs, because we want to make sure you succeed. So we want to view you at different levels. Your GRE scores, your transcript scores. That'll help us gauge to see how successful you are. Students can opt out if they have work experience. Some programs allow that. Some programs do not allow that and still require a GRE or GMAT. Programs who are ranked generally require a GRE or GMAT. For example, quantitative finance still requires it. Their full-time MBA still requires it. Right. And if you are applying and then it's required or optional, and you want a chance to get some scholarship, you probably should send in a good GRE or GMAT.
Because the GRE is like very important when you want a scholarship from any university.
So our scholarships are merit-based, and merit, a GRE or GMAT, helps show merit.
Got it. Okay. No, actually it makes sense because it's like you can opt out of GRE, but you have to compensate it with like your other skills. It depends like at what program you're applying and like what is your background and everything, and you can like easily compensate with it. But I think we have that's like compulsory. But I have like few friends. Okay, so it's a quant course, it's a math course. So you definitely look for a quantitative score, like because we have English and maths both. So you give preference to the math score even if someone has like low English score. So what is there any range you have decided, or like it's like what, like even if you have less score, just apply, we'll just.
So it's dependent on the program. Okay. For MQF, for example, we say we're looking for we say the average verbal on GRE is 152.
Okay.
That's average. So
saying it average makes it like easy, because even if like someone has like 149 right now, he can apply, because what if we can look at an application and we think that you are a good fit for this company, and we can get you, we can admit you. So I think it makes sense to write as average, because I didn't have like good GRE score. My quant score was like 164, but I had like pretty good background in like quants. I had a quant internship, which most of the people in my class don't have. I had a quant work experience, and that too at Barclays. So I think that really helped me. And even if I had like low GRE score, I got into this program. And I know someone from our program who has quant score of 160, 161, but he also got in because I think he was able to demonstrate his interest in the program, and he was able to demonstrate like how good he can perform in the program. And I think he's doing pretty good.
Good. And for quant, the average is 168. Yeah. So there's a lot of people getting higher than that. Yeah. But we look at everything.
Yeah, I think actually this is the thing which. So when I was applying for my application, I used to reach out to a lot of people and ask them, particularly in quant, like I have 164, I have 164. Will I get into the university? Will I get this? Will I get this? And fortunately, I got into Rutgers, and my application was also got through UCLA. So basically, they didn't reject me based on my GRE score. So 164 worked there. So I think it's not about like what score you get; it's about how you present yourself on like overall application. I think this is one of the best part, because all the US universities view you as a holistically rather than
Yeah. I would hope all of them do. I hope if you have a lower GRE score, that they're not automatically saying no to you and not looking at everything else. I hope.
Like we don't even know if someone is doing or not, because again, it's not like a fixed set of rules, and like it's just it's not like robots, it's humans. So people can do whatever they feel like, and sometimes things change, and like it depends on person to person who is reviewing our application. So I think it makes sense. I hope people are not doing this, but yeah, let's see. So one more thing. So next, when what if someone has a low GRE score? Is it possible to compensate it with a good GPA? And if someone has a not good GPA, does he still have a chance?
So I think it's easier to compensate with a low GPA by having a fantastic GRE or GMAT score. A low GRE or GMAT score, it's harder to compensate, but it's important to probably have a conversation with the admissions team and talk through it.
Okay, so like even if you have a low GRE score, you can sometimes compensate with a high GPA, and even if you have a low GPA, you can compensate with your experience or like something which you can show that again you are interested in the program and you can perform well.
Yeah. You can sometimes,
Right.
but have that conversation. If it's a ranked program, a very low GRE or GMAT score will bring all the numbers down, the average down. So that has to be considered as well.
Right. So it has to be like talked about. Like if you have a low GRE score, if you have a low GPA, so you need to like talk about it because you need to prove some kind of um academic competence when it comes to like your admissions.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Get it. All right. So let's talk about the main thing of any admissions application, that is your statement of purpose. So how important is statement of purpose when it comes to applying to US universities?
It is. It's important. So, like I mentioned before, if you have average GRE, GMAT scores, average scores on your transcripts, it becomes more important. So, if you have stellar, you have a 4.0, 170 on the quant portion of the GRE, you're doing pretty good, and the statement of purpose will probably weigh, as not as they won't weigh that as heavy. But if you're in the middle, that's when they become more important.
Right. So what exactly are the things which you expect in a like SOP, like how you want the SOP should be? Because a lot of people try to um, basically convert their resume into SOP,
Right.
and it's not like a storytelling. Like it's there is no story in the SOP. So have you like came across like, I think you have seen a lot of SOPs till now. So what's your like worst SOP and what was your like one of the best SOP which if you can remember?
It's hard to say. So the program directors are the ones really reading them. I do read. I have read some for just out of curiosity, and I read some when I was on the MBA full-time MBA admissions team.
They have very interesting SOPs because I think there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of competition when it comes to MBA.
MBA definitely.
What was like one of the thing which?
So nothing. I can't think of anything too crazy. We've definitely read some that are AI generated.
We'll come to that. Like, but the AI generation part. But okay, so when it comes to SOP, if someone is just copy pasting his resume to the SOP, so you can easily find out like there is no story. So when you see at a SOP, like when you read a SOP, you are looking for a story, right?
So a lot of times the program will ask a certain prompt for the SOP. Right. So if you're submitting your resume in written form for an SOP and not answering the prompt, that can be a red flag. You didn't read the directions. If it's an open statement of purpose, I recommend writing about what is not reflected in your resume. What you're doing on a project you're doing on your own that could make you a more favorable candidate to get into the for the program. Right. Talk about your passion, what you want to do with the degree, how you plan on succeeding in the program. I think those are good things to add to a statement of purpose.
Right. And that's why, okay, so when it comes to like, again, if I mention the topic of like AI generated, so a lot of people right now, like I'll ask you directly, like as a student, like what if I use ChatGPT to write my SOP? What would you say?
We can tell. There's a certain format, there's a certain way those are written. For the most part, we can tell. And I think internally we're trying to figure out what do we do with these.
I think this has been like a talk of the town, like among admissions committee, because I was sitting with this guy, and he's applying for like quant courses. He's undergrad from Rutgers only, and I did see his SOP. So he just came to me and like, bro, can you please check my SOP? And I was like, because I have done a lot of research. Because when I wrote my SOP, there was no Chat GPT. Like we weren't able to use Chat GPT that efficiently. We didn't know how to use it. But right now, I can use Chat GPT to like write it like almost as human. But okay, so I saw his SOP, and his SOP was like really, really, really bad. Like it was, you can easily read it and tell that this is from ChatGPT, because a lot of people now are using ChatGPT, and we see a lot of content around like out there in this on the social media, on the job application, on the SOP, like people are using ChatGPT, and I think nowadays people can easily tell that okay, this thing is generated from ChatGPT or from AI, because there is certain kind of structure in that. And I just saw his SOP, and it was
There's a lot of wasted words with Chat GPT. It's if it's I guess flowery. If there's a lot of repetitiveness, it could be from Chat GPT.
redundancy, like because you are trying to communicate your story. For example, your stories can be communicated in 2 lines, and if you ask ChatGPT to write it in 4 lines, the extra 2 lines will be redundant.
By default, they're going to make a paragraph out of one small statement. When they're doing it, it'll be 2 lines.
So so you basically are saying that whenever you're writing a SOP, it should feel like a human wrote it. Like it should come as a story. Like even if it has like not a good literary structure sort of which we use in English, but it should tell your story. It should come like from within yourself. That someone.
Personally, that's what I want to see. I want to see personality. I want to see growth. I think that's important for me when I'm reading them.
Yeah, write about your life, what do you think about life, write about your opinions on things, like whatever makes you human. Again, people who are sitting behind that admissions table are human, not robots. So they're looking for a human, they're not looking for someone who's coming up with something too mechanical kind of thing. So yeah, I think I completely get it. Like if someone focuses on their SOP a lot and tries to communicate their story in such a way that makes them a good candidate, even if they're not able to compensate that thing with their scores and anything, they are still like have a pretty good chance. And like if okay, so I think these are the things which we have talked about in a application part, right? If I tell you to give a weightage to anything, how would you like rank it? What is the most important thing when it comes to LOR, GRE, GPA, um, your SOP?
So personally, I would say your transcript, which shows if you've met the prerequisites to get into the program. After that, probably the GRE GMAT if it's required. Your resume and statement of purpose. That's probably the ranking I would.
So you are basically keeping statement of purpose in the end, I would say.
It might be a tie with resume. They're both very revealing into
Right.
a student.
And you as a person, and yeah, and you as if you can perform really well in program or not. No, I completely get it. And
But saying that, other people might have a different view on that.
right. Yeah, I think it's that's why we say it like holistic, because you don't have a proper a structure. You don't have a proper methods or a sequence to follow if you want to get into like any college, even if it comes to Ivy League. But you have to just present yourself differently in a unique way, so that someone who is checking your profile, he can look at you and who can tell that okay, this person is unique in his own way. He's not trying to become something else, because they can usually get it when you are trying to become something else, because they've been reviewing applications since years. So yeah, I completely get it. International student, I have this question for you. Is there any minimum score required for IELTS or TOEFL, like uh, when it comes to like international students who are applying to US universities?
So again, we give averages. So if you look at, and that varies by program, of course, because some universities have a standard average. Some of the programs, for example, in the business school, have slightly different averages. It's dependent on the program directors who set up the programs. I think for MQF, I think we say the average is 100
for TOEFL.
for the TOEFL.
It was 6.5 for the.
IELTS.
I think it's 7, but you do consider for 6.5 also. Like you want 6.5 in like each of the 4 subjects at least.
Um,
This is what I saw on the website.
I'm sure. If that's on the website, that's
Yeah, so I think this is what I saw, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I think 6.5 is like a good average you can have. And but this is not a make or break level. Like IELTS, I think would be the least thing to be considered on an application, right?
so a very, very bad English language proficiency score might tank the entire application because, again, we're looking for success. If you're going to succeed in the program, if you are going to succeed in the job market.
I think on the admissions thing, I would say, what about if someone is trying to apply and he's not able to pay for their application fee, and if they reaches out to you, what you usually say? If someone's trying to, get a waive of.
So we're pretty tough on that. We only offer waivers if a student joins an in-person event or if they join an event where we are in their home country and they attend. Because we find we can give everybody an application fee waiver, and it doesn't tell us that they're going to end up coming to the U.S. In fact, they're less likely to join our program if they get an application fee waiver.
I think you travel a lot in India. So if someone is like watching this, and if you see like Thomas coming to India in any city, for example, if you were in like Delhi and I met you there and I like, okay, Thomas, I'm interested in quants and I have this thing, I have this profile and I really want to apply, but I can't pay the application fee. Can you please waive off my application fee? So would you like consider that coming to you directly in person? I think you would, right?
I would. And I've been directed to by my boss to offer that. That might change next semester, but I do if I'm meeting you in person.
So you have that control because again, you are human. I'm just making a personal connection with you. I'm like talking to you personally. I think you won't say no to anything which is doable. So I think, yeah.
So unfortunately, we do say no to students who email us asking for them. We say no if they join a webinar, a virtual webinar, and ask for them. We it's just.
Yeah, you're getting hundreds of emails just asking for this because even when you ask for the deposit after they get admitted, a lot of people ask for an extension because they're waiting for other application deadlines and everything. So you say no to that. And I think it makes sense because you can't say yes to everyone. And yes, I get it. I completely get it. So yeah. So I think for the admissions thing, I have all these questions. We can just discuss about like if how can someone get a financial aid and scholarship? Is there any opportunity for anyone to get a financial aid and scholarship in any program?
Sure. So by nature, master's programs do not give a lot of money out to students coming into the programs. But students who do get money for the programs usually are given money merit-based. Some programs can offer more scholarships than others. But for the business school, for especially master's programs, there's not a lot of scholarships. And it's usually roughly $5,000 or $10,000.
So masters is not like it's in like overall US or in Rutgers only?
No, this is all over the U.S. Not a lot of money. And in fact, we get a lot of questions about, do we have fully funded master's degrees paid through the school? And we don't. Most of my colleagues in other universities do not have those, especially for specialty master's degrees.
Got it. And like if you, for example, if someone thinks that I'm very good for this program, I have a good GRE score, I have a good GPA score, I have a relevant work experience, particularly for this program, and I also got into Rutgers in this program. Now I want to reach out to someone to basically request and present myself and ask for a scholarship, like even if it's for a very less amount. So do you think someone should do it? And if someone wants to do it and if he can do it, who's the right person to reach out to?
So for all of the special master's programs in the business school, students are automatically reviewed for merit-based scholarships. We get a lot of emails asking about scholarships, but we have no control over them. The especially master's program admissions committees have offer the scholarships. And if you are not offered a scholarship, the chances of getting one and asking for one later is probably zero, because you have already been reviewed. You might be a fantastic candidate. You might have a great background, but there are a lot of students with great backgrounds, and many times they're getting scholarships.
And like, how important is a good college for anyone who's applying? Because in US, you are on your own when you are going for a job, right? And the most thing which a college can provide you is your career services and everything. But how important is it to choose a good college and a good program? Because I think we discussed when we started this podcast that people go for any program which don't pay a lot, and there are not a lot of job opportunities when you're looking for a job. So why it's important to get a good program and a good university? And for example, if I get into a program like, from any Ivy League, for example, MIT. I do a master's in finance from MIT, and if I'm doing a master's in quantitative finance from Rutgers. So, how different is that? Like, because I had this thing like, okay, I almost got through UCLA when I was in applying for my application. I was like, okay, should I take 1 year of gap and go for UCLA? But I was like, no. If I get a salary of 120K after my quantitative finance, which is an average for any quant degree, I will be losing an opportunity cost of 120K if I waste my 1 year. Right. So this was my thought process behind it. So what do you think? Like, how important is a good college? And
A few things. So average for MQF is a little over 100. The average for salary depends on the university you go to.
okay.
So some universities you can apply to, graduate, and by virtue of them having a great name, you can get a higher salary. You might find an easier time getting a job.
Because they have like maybe alumni network.
They have a great name. They have a great alumni network who are willing to help. So it takes a lot of research. You've got to do the research on the return on investment of the program you're applying to, not just the university, but the specific program. Because you can apply to an average program at a fantastic university, but that our ROI might not be great.
Right.
You might get a better ROI at a lesser named university because they have a niche program that is fantastic. So it takes a lot of research. One difference between Indian schools and U.S. schools is there's no automatic guaranteed placement for internships or jobs. That is really on the student to find those positions. The schools can give you so many tools to help you land that internship or job, but the students have to take advantage of those opportunities given by the schools.
But I think they are taught in US universities. They are taught how to improve on those aspects, and I think people can get a job. It's like, one of the things which comes to my mind when I was in India, like, will I get a job? Because I'll be spending this much money, and if I don't get a job, what will I do? Because I'll be taking a loan and everything. So people have a lot of doubts like this. But I think like if you do a right research about the course which you are taking and the university, I think you have a pretty good chance of getting a good job. And just be what do you say? Be active.
Be active. Yeah.
Because
I think one of the best ways you can research is talking to current students and alumni. Don't just look at stats online. Talk to the people. Talk to people who've gone through the program. Don't trust just the word of somebody at admission, somebody in the program, just their word. Talk to real life people who've gone through the program. They're going to tell you the good and the bad. They're going to be honest with you. And I think that's the best way to understand if you are a good fit for the program. Fit is so important. It's not just the name of the school It's not just the ranking of the program. You've got to be a good fit and feel like you're a good fit for the program too.
And I think, yeah, so because you are not dependent on the university all the time, yeah, the name of the university, the location might help you to get a job. But if you are a good candidate, if you are like very active on like LinkedIn or something on the networking end, you might get a good job. Like if even if you are saying that in quants we get like little over 100 as an average for a lot of people, but if you're like very good at it, you can even go to like 150, 160.
It's on you, and I think that also, and I'm just trying to think this through. It's something it just popped into my head, that your happiness in the place you choose to go to school can have an effect on your job outcome. And if you choose to go to school with at a very large institution where people don't know who you are, your professors don't know who you are you going to be as happy as you are going to a smaller, university, smaller program where you feel like you are important because the professor knows your name, the program staff know who you are, they can easily help you because they don't have 300 students they're looking after. I think having that feeling probably, in my opinion, translates into having a better time looking for a job because you probably feel better about yourself. That could be a controversial idea, but it's something I'm forming as we're speaking.
Great opinion. And I think it's so true because at the end, inside, we human are all seeking for a validation, right? Out there. And when it comes to validation, we are trying to find out the relevance of ourselves, like how relevant are we in the world. And if we so this is how a person become confident, because when he goes out there and he knows someone, he is familiar with the environment. Like whenever we are sitting in an exam room, we enter the exam room, or like on the day one of the college we enter it, and we are overwhelmed because like, okay, I don't know anyone, I don't know what this chair look like, I don't know what color of this table is, what's this person, because we are not familiar with the environment. But in like after 4 days, we know, because even if we go blind today, we can just easily figure out, okay, there's the table, there's a chair, okay, I can hear the voice of this person, I know that who's this person. And so when familiarity comes in, you gain a lot of confidence, you find your relevance in the society.
Right.
And I think this makes you like a better person, this makes you more confident, and this helps you to focus on the growth which you want in your life.
And having said that, students have to be proactive to achieve familiarity. They have to make sure they're being involved. So that means going to class, going to events for example, we have so many events for students to attend in New York City, going to those events, feeling comfortable wearing a suit, talking to people high up in the quant field, which I think will translate into better interviews when they are going through interview process, because they're more, because they've been through that in some sort of way. So
Yeah, so like I completely get it, because when we see these people who are like working at these tops and everything, people are some VP or director, but we see them, okay, he's a great guy, but he has been like you. So I was looking at like the alumni of Rutgers MQF program, like from 2007, 2008, and I was like, these guys are so big, they have their own startup, they have their own companies, but they were just like us. And we just treat them like something else. But just be yourself, just go to them and say, hi, my name is this, I think you are really good at it, and I think I really admire this about you, I really want to know about this thing. And I think that person won't say no to you, because at the end, everyone is trying to seek validation, right? And he wants to tell about himself, about what he does to you.
And you students have to take advantage of opportunities. So, for example, when I was in my master's program in international relations, I had the opportunity to go to a major fundraiser in New York City, sponsored by Ted Turner, and there were former prime ministers there. There were the Queen of Jordan was there talking, and I'm just just barely started at the school, just moved from Texas, where, you know, country boy from Texas. I don't know a lot, but I was talking. I went and this is, I don't know if this is me being naive, but I went up to a former senator from Colorado, said, "Hi, can I take a photo with you?" Nobody else is doing that. I don't know if that's being naive or confident. I don't know. There's a, you know,
I would see it as a confident. It depends on the perspective, but I would say it's a confident move, and I think it's a fair move. I want the photograph. I'll just come up to you and ask for it. That's it.
and and one thing I did, and it's a funny story I tell people, is I had a chance to say hello to Jane Fonda. If you don't know who she is, she's a famous actress, been in a lot of shows, controversial in politics, but I said hello to her. Again, that's probably,
It's all about asking. Like,
yeah.
I was giving my mock interview to Melinda the other day, and I was like, okay, my interview went really well, and she was like very impressed that you did pretty well job, and I was like, okay, Melinda, can I get that book? So that was a linked book from Jeremy Schiffer, which talks about like how to network on LinkedIn. And like, Melinda, can I that book? Can I get that book? And she was like, okay, I think you have earned it, and you asked for it, and I will say no.
Right. The worst thing you can do is not talk, not ask, not be active. Because if you fade into the background, you'll stay a part of the background.
Yeah.
And I hope that senator remembers me coming up to him. I hope Jane Fonda remembers me talking to her, because I took the opportunity to not just sit back and watch. I was proactive and wanted to insert myself and be remembered.
Yeah, I think because if you want to like be remembered in any like in front of anyone else, you have to first go up to them and just introduce themselves. And when you practice, uh, basically you are feared that people would judge you when you reach out to them, but when you approach them, but when you go to them and just ask them and you basically face your fear, you tend to become that muscle that of facing the fear, and you become a better person. You become a confident person, and this is the skill which I think which everyone should learn in their like at least college life when they have good opportunities.
Right. And it might not be apparent, but I'm a very introverted person. I'm terrified to speak in public. I have the
I don't think so.
it's true. I have the what's the complex where you think you're not good enough? Inferiority complex. But I have to push all of that aside and say, if I want to progress, if I want to get what I want, I have to get past the inferiority complex. I have to talk to people that I'm, I had to build confidence.
Right.
So some people are naturally confident. Some people, well, they probably had to build that confidence. So every time I have to muster the confidence to talk in front of 500 people, like I do when I'm on the road in India, talking to big groups of people, and I have to pretend like I'm the best public speaker, that I'm very confident, and then once I'm done, my anxiety makes me. I'm very exhausted once I'm done, because I had to build myself up, and everybody has to do that. And if you're not doing that and staying and appearing not to be confident, you're only hurting yourself. Right. You've got to. If you're not naturally confident, you have to force yourself to be if you want to progress.
I think I realized this thing recently, that courage is not being fearless. Courage is even when you are feared and you face your fears, that's called courage. Because when we say someone is courageous, we say that because he's feared about the thing, and even when he's feared, he's facing his fears. So this is what called being courageous. And I think being confident is not about like you are born with it. It's about it's like a muscle. Like someone has a smaller bicep, someone has a bigger bicep, and I think everyone has built upon it, and you just build upon your confidence, and eventually a lot of people tells me that actually you're so confident, like you can talk to anyone and stuff. Like I wasn't like that. I also had like this inferiority complex, and I also have a little bit of, not at that extent, but yeah, I don't have that complex now. And I just tell myself like, why are you feared of these guys? Like, why are you, like, you are way better than a lot of people. Just go and talk to them and just try to make a have a nice conversation and make them feel comfortable. That's it. If you make this someone, like if you make someone comfortable with your conversation, I think that's the best thing you can do.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And in my life, I've felt the same way. Uh, when traveling, people say, "Why do you want to go to this place, that place? Are you scared?" Maybe I'm too dumb to be scared, but yeah. I'm still doing it because, if something happens, it happens. Why am I going to limit myself with fears? Why am I going to be too afraid to speak to in front of a large group of people? What's the worst that can happen? I can get up there and freeze. I can unfreeze. I can. Yeah, I can. I've got to mentally get myself through it, and I can. And I've get up in front of people. I take a second, unfreeze myself, and continue. Anything's possible if you put yourself in the right mindset.
Right. And I think you improve on all these things when you leave the space of denial and you accept that, okay, this is a thing which I'm lacking and I want to improve on that. But a lot of people stay in denial that, no, I just don't talk to people. I don't like talking to people. I can talk to people, but I don't like talk to people. It's like they are just in the denial. Because of that, too.
And I think a lot of people, their fears come from other people's fears projecting onto them.
Exactly.
I don't know if it could be their friends, it could be their parents, telling them, don't do this. What's going to happen if you do this? What if? You've got to push everybody else's what ifs away, and move forward and be your own person.
I completely get it. I completely get your point. And I think this is the thing which I tell a lot of people who are coming to US to face it, because in India there is a lot of inferiority complex, a lot of insecurities about a lot of things. I was talking about this to one of my friend also who is an Indian American, Akhil. So yeah, I think people had it, and I think a lot of people. I just want to try and help all of the people to overcome all these things.
And I talk to a lot of international students who come into the U.S., who come into the program, and I can tell they're they might be a little bit afraid to talk to me, but I try to make the conversation as easy as possible. I try to make it make them feel that we have relatable lives. I talk about I try to make people laugh. I think that's then I gain a little get a relationship with everybody by just talking, and then hopefully if they feel confident talking to me, they'll feel confident talking to their professors, and they'll be confident talking to a future employer.
I think people have this fear of talking to other people, and I think if you make them comfortable about themselves, they tend to become a better person. And in any way, if you are helping someone in becoming a better person, that's a noble thing, I would say. So I think you are doing a pretty good job with that, because I think you are one of those person who made me comfortable about myself when I came here, because I also had that inferiority complex. And when I was talking to you, and when I so I think I was telling this to you that my mom, so she doesn't speak a lot of English, so she was telling me that, okay, are you able to understand like the way these people speak? So can you easily understand their accent and everything? Like I work with them, I talk to them, and like I was telling you, my mom won't feel proud when I'll be taking the degree on the stage, and I'll be also sitting on the stage next year on the convocation, and I was fighting with like the other president that I'll be ringing the bell. because MBA president rang the bell this time, but I was fighting with the other president that I'll just run and ring the bell. So yeah, I'll be sitting. So my mom won't feel proud of on that. My mom will feel proud when when she'll see me talking to you in English. So this is her proud moment. So I think most of the Indian moms and Indian parents have this thing that if the child can talk in English, they're educated. So I don't know what exactly that's, but I think you made me pretty comfortable with that, and I think
Yeah.
that helped me a lot to make friends, helped me a lot to talk to a lot of professors, and ask a lot of people for the podcast. Like whenever I talk to like someone interesting, I just ask them, hey, can you come on my podcast? I have this podcast, and I talk to people about their lives and everything. So I think, and no one says no. I never heard a no. I never heard a no. So
So I said yes because we work well together. We have fun chatting.
yeah,
A lot of things we've chatted before. We're bringing to this podcast, and it's fun.
yeah, and yeah, I think the podcast which we have recorded right now is going to help a lot of people. When if they have any doubts in like admission or something, might be clear. And I think if someone has anything to ask, they can always reach out to their respective admission team wherever they're applying to, and I think they're going to help you. Definitely. All right. Thank you so much, Thomas, for doing this podcast. And let's see, we'll do a podcast maybe other time.
Fantastic. Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.